Greetings, my fellow Most Southern Thinkers. This is LO3's News Podcast. My name is Craig. Train is emitting from the beautiful swampy Maine of South Florida. And today is 8. And the train coming by. Friday, June 28, 2018. Of course. Yeah, it's hot in beautiful downtown Fort Lauderdale. I'm at Stash, which is 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue, which is adjacent with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. Yeah, people doing their ticket business here. Pretty cool little facility. J Group, good guys. Three J's? Yeah, 3 J's. Excuse me, 3J. Very good guys and cool vibe. Sometimes the train is a distraction, but however, they let me do my show tonight. Thank you dearly. Yeah, so there's a typical things happening right now. Everyone's talking about Maxine Waters got to be censured because there's even reports on her saying harass anyone that's part of the Trump administration, etc. And technically that is violating House rules, according to Tim Fitton from judicialwatch.org. It's one of those things people gotta really look at, and I just scratched my head. You got these people who are going on menopause or male endopause in the district of criminals. You know what I'm saying? So they want us all get wound up fighting against each other so we be ruled like peasants. That's the name of divide and conquer. And they talk about civil war coming to America. And I'll tell you one thing, my friends. It will be synthetic, artificial, non-organic. If you're going to follow the hype and hoopla, you're just a pawn of the game, and you'll be used as garbage. They don't give a damn about any of us, including the ones you're fighting against. The establishment you have to really pay attention to. They love pulling the strings, having us wear cowbells around our necks. Claim we're just a bunch of herd conformists. We're dumb, stupid animals. And I know I'm being a little bit stretching it out by what Harry Kissinger said about soldiers. They want us to be their peasantry soldiers, okay? That's one of those areas I noticed for a very long time. And even claims about some poll, 40% of the people are ready to go to war. They don't know exactly what poll it is. If it's a Gallup poll, you have to pay attention. And how many people they actually called? That's the thing. You have to always look at those. You have to always analyze those areas, whether if you agree with it or not. Far left, far right, people claim to be fascists when they claim to be anti-fascists, and want to tell you what to do. They're just playing the same donkey game. Bunch of jackasses on parade. Why? Because I pay attention. I hear these knuckleheads' rhetoric. It's totally pathetic, meek, and unmeritable. A lot of bigger things are happening, my friends. Don't fall for the fear factor or the Hegelian dialect. Problem, reaction, solution. The goal is, if we fight amongst each other, put us into martial law, and we'll all be their little prisoners. And those use the game War on Terror hits America. It's a war with ourselves. It's like the battle with the war on drugs. And I know it's in good faith because I've studied these things for a good long time. I'm no expert. I boldly admit it. Still learning at 49 years old. And there are days you have to step back and think about the bigger picture. Government is the enemy. Tyrannical government, to be exact. That's why in our Declaration of Independence, Jefferson made it point clear about the government is usurped. It's our job and duty to overthrow or create a new form of government. The message is, you never trust them. Some people try to be a little bit too harsh. No, it's the damn truth. If you study Death by Government by R.J. Rummel, then you understand where I'm coming from. And many victims have suffered from governments gone bad. All you gotta do is look it up. It's self-explanatory. And you got folks from making threats to other members of the party about taking their kids away because the immigration ordeal is going on along the U.S.-Mexican border. And that's dead wrong. Don't fall for the hoopla, whatever you folks do. Examine it in a bigger picture. Trust me, you won't regret it when you implement it wisely. I don't know, I've digressed, so sorry about that. I had to get that off my chest. And I know Independence Day is just next Wednesday. The United States of America will be 242 years old. And what form of government you want to see? Whoever's living in this nation. A constitutional republic or continue as a federal corporation? Good question. Good question. Anything about, you want to know about the federal corporation? Look up Title 28, Section 3002 in its entirety. Subsection 15 addresses that this nation is considered is under a federal corporation. Gives you all the definitions. And the Reconstruction Act of 1871. Yeah, the so-called after the Civil War. So-called after the Civil War. Put us all in the plantation. Tyrannical elements of the plantation. So, I'm going to be talking about the far left, the far right, and the so-called Second Civil War. And what can you do to prepare yourself if that time comes? Just to give you a few elements here, let's hit it off. From the American Free Press.net. I'm about to subscribe to these folks. They're very good at what they do. So, some people claim to be bogus. I don't. Observe responsibly. At least they have the courage to push that envelope. They need your support too. AmericanFreePress.net. Be a subscriber. Hit their stores. Hit their archives. And it's funny when you get these cults from both sides. It came out today by Patrick J. Buchanan. It's entitled A Fascist Right or Historical Left. As it reads here, while it appears America is deep into a full-fledged societal breakdown, Pat Buchanan notes that recent headlines are not unprecedented, as some are saying, but it is not the 1960s yet. Regards, the corporate media induced the evolution of the American left into mindless hysteria and chaos is certainly well underway. And we can only hope full-scale burning of cities is not next. Then we have to say, if Trump supporters are truly a basket of deplorables, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and irredeemable, as Hillary Clinton described them, to an LGBT crowd, it is not shunning and shaming the proper way to deal with them. That's the question. So a growing slice of the American left has come to believe. Friday, gay waiters at Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia, appalled that White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was being served. Had the chef call the owner, all decided to ask Sanders' party to leave. When the news reached the left coast, Congresswoman Maxine Waters was ecstatic, yelling to a crowd, "God isn't on our side." If I would have been there, I'd be doing a serious salute and go, God bless the police state. Idi Amin would be proud. That's right, that's her role model. Maxine raving on, and so let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in an apartment store, at a gasoline station. You go out and create your crowd, and you push back on them. You tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere. Apparently, Let's have issued its marching orders. Homeland Security Secretary Christian Nielsen was heckled and booed at a Mexican restaurant last week, and then hassled by a mob outside her home. While White House aide Stephen Miller was called out as a fascist while dining in D.C. Florida General Pam Bondi was driven from a movie theater somewhere in Tallahassee, if I'm correct. And don't get me wrong, I'm not really crazy about Pam Bondi and some of her actions, but there's always a battlefield at a movie theater. That's irrelevant, unacceptable. People who are involved in this are nothing more than walking antimatter. Call me out if you dare. I'm not afraid of you bastards and parasites and vampires, psychic vampires, or willing snowflakes to be exact. Last June, the ugliest of lessons of politics turned lethal. James Hawkinson, 66-year-old volunteer in Bernie Sanders' campaign, opened fire on a GOP congressman practicing for their annual baseball game with the Democrats. House Majority Whip Stephen Scalzi was wounded about almost mortality. It had not been for Scalzi's security detail, Hawkinson might have carried out a mass atrocity. The cultural atmosphere is becoming toxic after Robert De Niro brings a Hollywood crowd to his feet with cries of F Trump. Peter Fonda says that 12-year-old Barron Trump should be locked up with the pedophiles. Comedian Kathy Griffin holds up a picture of a deprecated head of the president. She suggests what might be happening to the separate children of legal immigrants. Ex-CIA Director Michael Hayden puts on social media a photo of the entrance to the Nazi camp at Auschwitz-Birkenau. What does that tell us about America 2018? To the left, the point of irrationality, despite a triumphant Trumpian right, and believes that to equate it with fascist and not only legitimate, but a sign that the accusers are real, moral, righteous, and courageous dissenters in these terrible times. Historians are calling out the outbursts of hate on president. They are not. In 1968, mobs cursed Lyndon B. Johnson, who had passed all the civil rights laws, howling, "Hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" After Dr. King's assassination, 100 cities, including the capital, were looted and burned. Scores died, and U.S. troops and the National Guard were called out to restore order. Soldiers returned from Vietnam were spat upon. Cops were gunned down by urban terrorists. Bombings and bomb attempts were everyday occurrences. Campuses were closed down. In May 1971, tens of thousands of radicals went on a rampage to shut down D.C. A cautionary note to progressive extremism is how the left lost the future to Nixon and Reagan. But through the media may act like this is 1968. We were not there yet. That was history. This is still largely farce. The comparisons with Nazi Germany are absurd. Does anyone truly believe that centers with the children of legal immigrants are being run as they are by liberal bureaucrats from the Department of Health and Human Services are like Stalin's gulags or Hitler's camps? This is a hyperbole born of hysteria and hate. Consider 2 million Americans are in jails and prisons, all torn from their families and children. How many TV hours have been devoted to showing what those kids are going through? 30% of all American children grow up with only one parent. How many TV specials have been devoted to kids separate for months, sometimes years, sometimes forever, from fathers and mothers serving in the military and doing tours of duty overseas in our endless wars? Because of U.S. support for the UAE-Saudi war against the Houthi rebels in Yemen, hundreds of thousands of children face the threats of famine. Those Yemeni kids are not being served burgers in daycare centers. How many Western TV cameras are recording their suffering? When it comes to the rhetoric of hate, the cursing of politicians, the shouting down of speakers, the right is not innocent, but the left is infinitely more guilty. It was to the Donald Trump rallies, not the Bernie Sanders rallies, the provocateurs came to start the fights. Why? Because if you have been told and believe your opponents are fascists, then their gatherings are deserving not of respect, but of disruption. And as was true in the 1960s, if you manifest your contempt, you will receive the indulgence of the media that will celebrate your superior mortality. Interesting indeed, by Mr. Buchanan. And it's fun because even in the past they all called him a racist. Racist. He's a Nazi and all that. But why? Because there's a lot of folks out there. Even him. I wasn't really too crazy about some of his views as when he was a presidential candidate. And I'm not saying he's all bad. However, as a columnist, the man has plenty of merit. Like him or not. All you gotta do is study the past. And it's today's greatest teacher. And that's why I tell these folks, pay attention. You better think before you speak or take action. Do your homework, your research. Don't fall for the propaganda matrix. Don't entrap yourselves of manifestive indulgence. Because Kio Bono, who benefits? Not you. The bastards, the vampires, Orwellian vampires, to be exact. Because they use you, once again, as expendable garbage. One of these areas, my friend, the information war is a great tool. Use it effectively. Inspire others with knowledge. Intellectual ammunition is always the key. When they start spazzing out and going around like on some banshee and heat, then you know you got them. I know that for a fact. I've been out there enough times. And I drove some people crazy without being angry at them. I'll sing a songs once in a while, yeah, but not out of malice, but rather in good faith. Yes, I am critical of some of these politicians, but I'm not afraid to call them out on their actions. However, there's always saying choose your battlefields wisely. The Art of War, Sons of the Art of War talks about that. Just read that book. Very damn good. We're going to continue on in reference to the Second Civil War, the mind control program 101. And this one here came from Bob Livingston. Very legendary in his work. I have a friend of mine who was like 70 years old, said he knew who he is. Still doing it today. Long time. Almost 39 years this man's been doing it. You gotta give it to him. That's in the Second Civil War. The tolerant left will tolerate nothing that doesn't comport to their radical orthodoxy. And seeing their policies rejected by electorate, they have sought to use government, the courts, and the bullying media to force their will on others. Very fascistic indeed, right? Now they're employing a new tactic, encourage and engage in an outright bullying and physical confrontation. The brown shirts, I call them. Imagine, Maxine Ward is brown shirts. Yes, I am an African-American Nazi. Or a communist. In the last several days, we've seen President Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security and their staff harassed as they ate at a public restaurant. Trump's spokespuppet, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, run out of the restaurant where the restaurant owner then followed her family to another restaurant and verbally harangued them. cowardly to be exact. Trump staffer Stephen Miller's apartment swarmed by protesters who tack up wanted posters. Senator Mitch McConnell and his wife Eileen Kao, Secretary of Transportation, surrounded and shot up by a mob of students. A DHS staffer reported to decapitated and burned animal carcass being left on his porch. And Representative Maxine Waters, Commerce, California, calling for organized mobs to look for anybody from that cabinet in the restaurant, the department store, the gasoline station, and for them to get out. And you create a crowd and you push back on them. You tell them that they are not welcome anymore, anywhere. You can say cult of personality, right? The mainstream propaganda media providing cover and granting legitimacy for these actions, both subtly and overtly. Any calls for tamping down the vitriol are tepid and feckless at best. The violent, radical left seems to be revising its playbook from the 1970s. We've seen their protests and demonstrations escalate since Trump's election. The civility in political discussion is now passing. Of course, name-calling, expletives, and ad hominems and physical attacks are the refuge of the ignorant. There's convenient fallback position for those unable or unwilling to defend their position with the facts. The post-fact syndrome. Bizarro world indeed. It is also common practice of the ignorant to automatically assign evil motives to a person or group expressing a counter opinion. Many reach the conclusion that any person of any or any group that disagrees politically or philosophically is somehow bad and intends to inflict as much harm or heartache as possible on their opponents. But incivility in political discourse is not new, and anyone who takes an honest look at American history understands this. Thomas Jefferson once said, "It's been a source of great pain to me to have met with so many among my opponents who had not the liberality to distinguish between political and social opposition. He transferred at once to the person the hatred they bore to his political opinions. It pains many of us still because as long as this practice continues, we will be opposing one another rather than mounting opposition to those in positions of power who will continue to steal our freedoms by passing unconstitutional laws and steal our wealth by debasing our currency. As the left increasingly inciting violence, it should bear in mind the maxim for that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. There will eventually be a response by equally radical right. Remember that all governments need crisis, no matter how much lip service they give to peace. Crisis is a well-known Machiavellian strategy to gain and solidify political power and persuade public opinion. Crisis provides a stage where governments can control all sides. At least they can arrange events to naturally unfold. We are living in critical times. We are seeing before our eyes the breakdown of the rule of law, which leads to the breakdown of law and order. It's increasingly obvious that mass chaos, if not outright civil war, is the agenda of the radical left. Remember, there is nothing civil about civil wars. Can't argue with that man. So, how many of you clowns are going to listen to these quacks? Remember, they're not your masters or mistresses, but your damn servants. With this mindset, you're going to trust them? Okay? Think about it. Doesn't matter. They don't give a damn about you. You're being used as their pawns of the game. I recommend everyone out there to laugh at them. Anyone believes that we should go harass everyone else in front of their families, you should smack the crap out of them. They deserve it. Because you're being manipulated. They want to con you. Government in Latin means control of the mind. That's one of those areas. Doesn't matter what political party you're in. George Washington warned us about political parties can be dangerous to our young republic. That's from his farewell address in 1796. You can look it up on the Avalon Project, or Library of Congress. The man was right. You're gonna fall for this, folks. You'll be stepping on your own bear trap when least expect it. It'll blow back in your faces, and those ones you want to follow or look up to will just laugh at you, ignore you. They don't want to get their hands dirty because they're a bunch of pathetic palmolivists. They want a civil war? You tell them, you go on the front line of battle. All these clowns. I can see Maxine Waters going to the front line of battle of the Civil War. Let's see how tough she really is. Don't even bring her security team with her. Let her do it on her own free will. Let's see. You gotta look at that. And I admit, I'm damn critical too of some of these people in the political realm, whether it's federal, state, or local. But when they're with their families, that's a whole different ball game. So once and for all, you better think twice. Then follow the propaganda matrix. Don't believe the hype. All right. Peace of mind purposes. This came out today by the Organic Prepper. Daisy Luther. Always write good stuff. Writer and all that too. Says here how to survive the civil unrest that's coming to America. The rhetoric in the United States is heating up and we're sounding anything but, well, united. It seems the lost media pundits like we are too far down to the path of Civil War 2.0 to turn back now. Activists are laying siege to government offices. Threats towards people who disgrace are growing in ferocity. It's ugly and getting uglier. It's a powder keg that's about to erupt. Here are some of the thoughts on a full-fledged Civil War might look like, and there's a link for that, so check it out. It only matter of time before civil unrest begins to escalate and spread throughout the country. Many people are wondering, how do you keep your family safe during widespread unrest? It's not being fearful. It's about being prepared. My thoughts on this manipulated division are fodder for another article you can find here. There's links on this, so check it out. She's very good. I always enjoy her work. This article is a political, to the best of my ability anyway, and focuses strictly on what you need to know to survive and should the unrest come to your neighborhood. You need to understand how riots unfold. First things first. If you need to understand how this kind of unrest unfolds, so you can see the warning signs earlier, don't underestimate the power, rage, and motivation of a mob. Here are the patterns. When outrage occurs, good people react and protest the outrage. They are perpetrating the outrage, try to quell the protest because they don't think the outrage was actually outrageous, and whether it was or not can fluctuate. In some cases, force is necessitated, but more and more cases is frequently litigious. Others react to a quelling and join the protest. A mob mentality erupts. Things said, hey, it's a free-for-all. I'm going to get some Doritos, and while I'm at it, beat the crap out of some folks for fun. Happened in L.A. Remember the L.A. riots? Absolutely. All hell breaks loose. The military gets called in. Cities burn and neighborhoods get destroyed, and no one in the area is safe. Cops act preventively out of fear, and for the time, there's no rule of law. If you happen to be stuck there, knowing you're completely on your own. Tess Pennington wrote about the societal breakdown in more details. You can read that article, folks. Check it out. Some people are just waiting for the opportunity to behave in this fashion. They love to act like that every single day, but they don't want to spend the rest of their lives in jail. But when the verdict gets rolled out, when the storm takes out of power, when disaster strikes, they delight in the chance to rob, pillage, loot, and burn. Who can forget the day before Superstorm Sandy hit the East Coast when thugs were coordinating looting rampages via Twitter? I remember learning out of sublimation in the high school psychology class. Sublimation is a defense mechanism that allows us to act on unacceptable impulses by converting these behaviors into a more acceptable form. For example, a person experiencing extreme anger might take up kickboxing as a means of venting frustration. Viewed between that sublimation was a sign of maturity that allows people to function normally in socially acceptable ways. If you believe viewed 30, then it's easy to see how many people look for an excuse to revert their true natures. In a situation where everyone is doing something, they are able to cast off the normal control of their impulses without much fear of reprisal. The number of looters and thugs far outstrips the number of arrests going on in Baltimore. There's a very good chance that someone swept up in that mentality can go burn somebody else's home or business and completely get away with it. Make a flexible plan. The situation of civil unrest, it isn't as clear-cut as disasters like a looming storm or a chemical spill. It depends on where you live. In a small town far away from riots and protests, your lockdown areas could be much greater than your own home. It could encompass your immediate community too, and life might go on as always has for you. Aside from the need to stay a little closer to home than before. However, if you live in a city or a suburb, it might become essential to make a decision quickly. Do you lock your doors and stay home, or do you get out of Dodge? It's a question only you can answer. One thing that is very important is this: if you need to go, do not miss your window of opportunity to do it safely. If the entire city feels the same way, you'll most likely be stuck in traffic and trapped in your car. Protests have shut down the highways more than once in recent years, and you'll be far safer behind a brick and mortar of your home than you'll be in your car. By the way, there's always someone who chimes in a snide remark about how cowardly it is to lock down with your family in order to stay safe. Blah blah blah. If you want to go get involved in a battle to make a political point, that's certainly your prerogative. However, my priority is the safety of my family, and as such, I hope to avoid engaging altogether. First thing you need to do is get home. If your area is beginning to devolve, the first thing that you're going to do is to get everyone in the family home, or if your home is a thick of things, a safer secondary location. In a perfect world, we all be home without the chaos of erupting a TV from the safety of our living room. However, the reality says that some of us will be at work, at school, or in the car when the arrest occurs. You need to develop a get-home plan from all members of your family based on the most likely places that will be. Devise an efficient route for picking up the kids from school, but be sure that anyone who might be picking up the children already has permission to do so in the school office. Discuss their plan with older kids. There have been rumors that children could be moved by the schools to a secondary location in the event of a crisis. Some families have formulated plans for their older kids to leave school grounds in such an instance to take a designated route home or to another meeting place. Keep a home bag in the trunk of your car in case you have to set out on foot. Stash some supplies in the bottom of your child's backpack: a water, a snack, any tools that might be useful, and a map. Be sure your children understand the importance of OPSEC. Find multiple routes home. Map out alternative back road ways to get home, as well as direction if you must go home on foot. And hiding places along the way. If you work or go to school a substantial distance from your home, figure out some places to lay low now before a crisis situation. Sometimes staying out of sight is the best way to stay safe. Avoid groups of people. It seems that the mob mentality strikes when large groups of people get together. Often folks who would never ordinarily riot in the streets get swept up by a mass of people who are doing so. Keep in mind that in many civil disorder situations, the authorities are to be avoided every bit as diligently as an angry mob of looters. Who can forget the scenes of innocent people being pepper sprayed by uniformed thugs in body armor just because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Know when to abandon the plan to go home. Sometimes you just can't get there. Going through a war zone is not worth it. Find a different place to shelter. Pay attention to your instincts. The reality is family members are likely to be at work or school when things start to break down. You need to have a plan to lay out in advance to get everyone together, and you need to be flexible enough to know when to go to plan B. That makes a lot of sense. Be ready for a lockdown. Once you make your way home to your bug out location, stay there. By staying home, you're minimizing the risk of being caught in the midst of an angry mob or of sitting installed traffic while looters run amok. In most scenarios, you'll be far safer at home than you will be in any type of shelter or refuge situation. Obviously, there is some type of chemical or natural threat in your immediate neighborhood, like a toxic leak, a flood, or a forest fire. The whole situation changes. You must use common sense before hunkering down. This is when your prepared supplies really pays off. If you're ready for minor medical emergencies and illnesses, a grid down scenario and no calm situation, you'll be able to stay safely at home with your family and ride out the crisis in minor conflict. Here's your checklist. Check your pantry and any fill gaps in your food prep. Order emergency food buckets. Get your water prepped in order. Get cash in small denominations out of the bank. Make sure you have enough garbage bags, pet supply, and toiletries. Pick up and copy comprehensive preparedness guides like the Prepper's Blueprint. Check your supply of candles, matches, and lighters. This article has more information. Flashlights and spare batteries and or dynamo wind-up flashlights. Make sure your electronics are fully charged and keep them charged during the lead-up to an event. Make sure any cell phone battery packs are fully charged. Fill your tank up to the max. If your vehicle isn't in a garage park in a trunk end and as close to the wall as you can, it makes it hard to get the tank to either steal the fuel or to set fire to it. Check your home security. Walk around and look at your property and as if you were a burglar and take appropriate caution to improve security if required. Have something on hand for the kids to do in case of school closures. Make sure you have fully stocked first aid kit and enough OTC medications to last the family for at least a month. Check and clean your firearms. Be prepared to defend your family if trouble comes to you. Pick up some extra ammo. Plan to keep pets indoors. Make sure you have enough or needed prescription medications to last a few weeks. Staying home is the number one way to keep yourself safer from during the civil unrest situation. If you find yourself in the area are under siege, the odds will be further on your side for every interaction in which you avoid taking part. Every single time you leave your home, you increase the chances of an unpleasant encounter. Nothing will be accomplished by going out during a chaotic situation. Try to stay under the radar. Your best defense is avoiding the fight altogether. You want to stay under the radar and not draw attention to yourself. The extent of which you strive to do this should be the best way to the severity of the unrest in your area. Some of the following recommendations are not necessary in everyday grid-down scenario, but could save your life in a more extreme unrest scenario. Keep all the doors and windows locked. Secure sliding doors with metal bars. Considering installing decorative gridwork over the door with a large window so that it becomes difficult for someone to smash the glass to unlock the door. Put dark plastic covers over the windows. Large heavy-duty bags will work well. It is safe to do so. Go outside and check to see if any light escapes from the window. If you're at home, is the only one in the block that is well lit. It is a beacon to others. Keep pets indoors. Sometimes criminals use an animal in distress to get a homeowner to open the door for them. Sometimes people are just mean and hurt animals for fun. Either way, it's safer for your furry friends to be inside with you. Don't answer the door. Many home invasion starts with an innocent seeming knock at the door to gain access to your home. Keep cooking smells to a minimum. The goal is to not draw attention. The meat on your grill will draw people like moths to a flame. Keep the family together. It's really best to hang out in one room and make it a movie night. Go into a darkened room in the back of the house and stay together. This way, if someone does try to breach your door, you know where everyone who is supposed to be there As well, you don't risk one of the kids unknowingly causing vulnerability with a brightly lit room and an open window. Remember, first responders may be tied up. If disorder is widespread, don't depend on the call to 911 to save you. You must prepare to save yourself. Also keep in mind, as mentioned earlier in the article, the cops are not always your friends in these situations. Be prepared for defensive action. And despite your best efforts, your property draws the attention of people with ill intent. You must be ready to defend your family. Sometimes, despite our best intentions, the fight comes to us. Many preppers stockpile weapons and ammunition for such an event. I know that. I certainly do. Firearms are an equalizer. A small woman can defend herself from multiple large intruders with a firearm. If she has some training and knows how to use it properly, put a butcher knife in her hand against some of the same intruders, her odds decrease exponentially. When the door in your home is breached, you can be pretty sure the people coming in are not there to make friendly conversations on a bar or cup of sugar. Make a plan to greet them with a deterrent amount of force. Don't rely on 911. If the disorder is widespread, don't depend on the call to 911 to save you. You must prepare to save yourself. First responders may be tied up in some cases. The cops are not always your friends. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, some officers joined in the crime sprees, and others stomped all over the Second Amendment, confiscated people's illegal firearms at the same time when they needed them the most. And I can say this: anyone that was involved, including the police in New Orleans, taking firearms away from the people, are treasonous scumbags. Plain and simple. If you want to defend it, call me up. Contact me if you dare. Be armed and keep your firearms on your person. When the door on your home is breached, you can pretty sure the people coming in or not to make friendly conversation over a nice cup of tea. Make a plan to greet them without a deterring amount of force. Be sure to keep your firearm on your person during this type of situation, because there won't be time to go and get it from your gun safe. Don't even go into the kitchen to get a snack without it. Home invasions go down in seconds. You have to be constantly ready. Know how to use your firearm. Whatever your choice of weapon, practice. A weapon you don't know how to use is more dangerous than having no weapon at all. There's a link on there how to use these weapons. And I agree. Always got to be practicing. Learn to shoot it, clean it, and all that, etc. Like I tell everyone, firearm safety is everyone's responsibility. Make sure your children are familiar with the rules of gun safety. Of course, it should go without saying that you will have preemptively taught your children the rules of gun safety so that no horrifying accidents occur. In fact, it's my fervent hope that any child old enough to do so has been taught to safely and effectively use a firearm for themselves. Knowledge is safety. Be ready for the potential of fire. Fire is a cowardly attack that doesn't require any interaction on the part of the arsonist. It flushes out the family inside, leaving you vulnerable to physical assaults. Have fire extinguishers are mounted throughout your home. You can buy them in 6-packs from Amazon. Be sure to test them frequently to maintain them properly. Allstate has a page of fire extinguisher maintenance. Have fire escape ladders that can be attached to the windowsill in all upper story rooms. Drill with them so your kids know how to use them if necessary. Have a safe room established for children or other vulnerable family members. If the worst happens and your home is breached, you need to have a room into which family members can escape. This room needs to be a heavy exterior door instead of a regular hollow core interior door. There should be communication devices in the room so that the person can call for help, as well as a reliable weapon to be used in an unlikely event in that safe room is breached. The family members should be instructed to come out of that room for any reason until you give them the clear or help has arrived. You can learn more about building a safe room. There's a link for that. The tips for creating a safe room in an apartment to put together more quickly. Again, if your plan is to bug in, you must be ready to change the plan in the blink of an eye. Plan an escape route. If the odds are against you and your home catches on fire, if thugs are kicking in the front door, devise a way to get your family to safety. Your property is not worth your life. Be wise enough to accept that the situation has changed and move rapidly to plan B. You have to remember that civilization is just a veneer. Sometimes, so many times, they're interviewed after disaster. People talk about being shocked at the behavior of others. The level of cognitive dissonance has been lured them into thinking that we're safe and we live in a civilized country. They are unwilling to accept that civilization is only a glossy veneer, even when the evidence of that is right in front of them, aiming a gun at their faces, lighting their homes on fire, or raping their daughters. They refuse to arm themselves and prepare for an uncivilized future. Accept it now, and you'll be a lot better off when SHTF shite hit the fan. Look at what happened during the Ferguson riots. Look at the behavior stampeding masses at any given Black Friday shopping extravaganza. Look at the horrifying rhetoric espoused by people angry about the politics in our country. Tell me again how civilized our country is. And she is right. So this is why you gotta always see things in a bigger picture. And even if you study history about militias, they want us to be ready all the time, be the first response. We want able-bodied folks. And your many of the state constitutions, including Florida, has information about militias. And so a lot of these folks don't believe that, but you know what? Then you're just a bunch of diving, naive fools. If you gotta believe the police are obligated to protect you, you're being swindled. If you're gonna leave all your security eggs in the hands of the government, you've been fooled, punked, duped, etc. Hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. This is why I respect individuals like Miss Daisy Luther, because she knows what she's talking about. I'm the same way. And that's why a lot of these folks, sometimes they try to give me this little half-assed sweet pot beer bread syndrome rhetoric. I don't buy it. I don't care. I study history. And I see what happens when some of these things occur. Don't happen in LA, even the riots in Miami. Funniest thing was, I remember they burned down Little Havana, South Miami, and Kendall. Everyone's like, come on down, riff-raff. We're ready for you. Never occurred. Why? Because they know they're in dangerous territory. There's people out there who will defend their properties. You have to have that mindset all the time. This is why I'm against organizations like March for Our Lives. They're liars. They're hypocrites. They're tyrannical. The CA Corporation that started that group wasn't the kids from Parkland High School. You can look it up yourself. They're based out of Plantation, Florida. This is why. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. It's like hurricane season. Think about that, right? Many people in South Florida remember Irma, Andrew, Wilma. A lot of folks that never been to a hurricane all ran amok. Irma's came through here. I was ready. Had a family. Work as a team. That's all you gotta do. And respect each other. Look out for your neighbors during this time. All right. That's how I look at. That's why I say things. And you know what? I'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, cool. So we're gonna hit this next one, and that is from American Free Press again. It came out a few days ago, if I'm correct. Yeah, 3 days ago. Interesting. It says here how the CIA's MK Ultra ruined their lives, and it's by S.T. Patrick. A group of Canadians is fighting back against years of abuse under a secret experimental U.S. program, and it's not the first time. Canadian judge compensated 77 former victims of the MK Ultra in 1992. The U.S., whose CIA oversaw the mind control program, has yet to see symbols successfully brought to trial. It's by S.T. Patrick. Over 40 Canadians are striking back at one of the most notorious covert operations of the 20th century, calling them Survivors Allied Against Government Abuse, or SAAGA. The survivors recently gathered in Montreal to publicly share stories of the MK Ultra abuse that destroyed their lives and their families. Their next step is to bring a class action lawsuit against Canada's national government in Ottawa. The MK Ultra class action lawsuit centers on the Allen Memorial Institute, AMI, in Montreal, a psychiatric hospital that also houses the psychiatry department of McGill University's Royal Victoria Hospital. As the extension, The CIA funded MK Ultra project. AMI doctors use sleeping medications, electroshock therapy, and hallucinogens such as LSD to experiment on unwitting patients. Some of the more troubling allegations consist of patients having been involuntarily sedated into medically induced coma for weeks as loops of repeated statements or noise. Yep, someone's moving the table. The Project MK Ultra was a CIA mind control program that was operated in conjunction with the Office of Scientific Intelligence and the U.S. Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. Officially operated from 1953 to 1973, but converted experimentation on the limits of the human mind existed before MK Ultra will exist into the future. The CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all documents of MK Ultra destroyed. In 1973, a Freedom of Information Act request in 1977 uncovered over 20,000 documents that had been destined for eradication. The more information was declassified to the public in 2001. Implementation of the MK Ultra program at the Allen Memorial Institute was undertaken by its founding director, Dr. Donald Edwin Cameron. Cameron served as the president of both of the American Psychiatric Association from 1952 to 1953 and the Canadian Psychiatric Association from 1958 to 59, before becoming the first head of the World Psychiatric Association in 1961. In 1945, Cameron was part of the team that traveled to Germany during the Nuremberg trials to evaluate Rudolf Hess, the deputy Führer to Adolf Hitler from 1933 to 1941. Their diagnosis of Hess was hysteria and amnesia, but Cameron's later analysis of German society was even more troubling, albeit completely fallacious. In his paper, The Social Reorganization of Germany, Cameron argued for a complete reorganization of German society to prevent what he believed to be another threat to world peace in the 30 years. After the Manhattan Project regarding atomic weapons was revealed in the United States, he argued for the necessity of behavioral scientists to act as social planners to civilized societies. The United Nations, he argued, would then become the conduit by which psychiatry goals will be intertwined with globalism. Society, Cameron believed, should be divided between the weak and the strong. It sounds like Tobias Right by, what's that guy's name? Ragnar Redbeard. There was a claim about that. There was two authors. One was Jack London, the American who wrote Animal Farm, and Arthur Dudman from New Zealand. Okay, I'm going to continue on here. Those who could not handle the state of the world as the globalists constructed it would then be weak, while those who accept the stark realities without rebellion would be strong. Very contradicting, right? Authors such as Naomi Klein have questioned the real reason for the AMI's MK Ultra experimentation. She believes that Cameron's initial work at MAI was about brainwashing. Instead, it was an effort to develop the art of torture and lay the groundwork for the CIA's two-step psychological torture method. The focus on drug inducement and electroshock therapy was designed, according to Klein, to extract information from resistant sources. As part of the MK Ultra project, the United States psychiatric community also experimented widely with the suggestive power of hypnosis, with and without drugs. Richard Carter's novel, The Manchurian Candidate, was released at the height of the MK Ultra operations. It features a presidential assassination attempt undertaken by a hypnotized brainwashed subject. Since 1968, speculation has existed as to the role of hypnosis in the life of Sirhan Sirhan, in prison for the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. To date, a similar class action lawsuit has not been filed in America. It could be that similar groups exist, carefully monitoring the Canadian case before filing. Nancy Layton was admitted to Cameron's care at the age of 18. She suffered from depression. Within 6 months of being treated by Cameron, Layton developed an acute schizophrenia that had not existed before she had been under Cameron's care. I could not believe this was allowed. Marlene Levinson, who was the aunt, was victimized by AMI's mind control program, told CTV Montreal. These were innocent people who went in for mild depression. Even if it was severe depression, postpartum, neurological things that happened, they came out completely ravaged at their life was ruined. This is not the first such legal case in Canada. In 1992, Justice Minister Kim Campbell compensated 77 former victims of MK Ultra. Others were denied when they were deemed not damaged enough. The empirical level at which someone has to be damaged enough by his or her own government has yet to be set. The bar, however, should be low when the government harms the very people it is democratically meant to protect and serve. St. Patrick holds degrees in both journalism and social studies and education. So he had the show called Midnight Rider's News Show, which is good. I've heard one from Marshall Del Rosa. It's really good. So, yeah, like I said, it's how deep is the rabbit hole go, my friends? A damn lot. Okay, just one of those things you gotta look at. A good example too, Project Monarch. This people that's claim the Project Monarch existed, and what happened in Nazi Germany? They had, like, the women had sex with them, they forget. So one of these areas, you have to see how far this thing goes. I'm gonna have to keep this thing posted, see what the hell's going on, because, and of course, this is declassified information too on MK Ultra, but CIA. But it's a real shame, and now this is why you can't let history repeat itself. So it's one of the areas you gotta pay attention, say no to government intervention. All right, next one. Good article, by the way. I'm very pleased to narrate this. Came from the Daily Mail. It came out yesterday? I believe it did. Came out yesterday. Yes, it did. It says here, the danger is real. We need a new Declaration of Independence for modern times. And then Mr. White has to say, these are the times that try men soul, become a soldier, and the sometimes patriot will, in the crisis, shrink from the service of their country. For he that stands is now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, with the heart that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. Thomas Paine wrote that in December 1776. Imagine living in a country where armed soldiers crash through the doors to arrest and imprison citizens for merely criticizing government officials. Imagine that is the very same country you watch. You watch all the time, and if you look even a little bit suspicious, police will stop and frisk you or pull you over and search you on the off chance that you're doing something illegal. Keep in mind that if you have a firearm of any kind while in this country, it may get you arrested and in some circumstances shot by police. If you're thinking it sounds like America today, you wouldn't be far wrong. However, the scenario described above took place more than 200 years ago, with American colonists suffered under great version of an early police state. It was only when the colonists finally got fed up with being silent, censored, searched, frisked, threatened, and arrested that they finally revolted against tyrants' fetters. No document better their group states their grievance in the Declaration of Independence, a document seething with the rage over a government which had betrayed its citizens. The Declaration of Independence was signed on January 4, 1776 by 56 men who laid everything on the line, pledged it all, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, because they believed in the radical idea that all people are created to be free. Labeled traitors, these men were charged with treason, a crime punishable by death. For some, their acts of rebellion will cost them their homes and their fortunes. For others, it will be the ultimate price, their lives. Yet, knowing the heavy price that might have to pay, these men dared to speak up when silence could not be tolerated, even after they had won their independence from Great Britain. These new Americans worked to ensure that the rights they've risked their lives to remain secure for future generations. The result are Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Imagine the shock and outrage these 56 men would feel if they were discovered that 242 years later, the government they had risked their lives to create has been transformed into a militaristic police state in which exercising one's freedoms is often viewed as a flagrant act of defiance. Indeed, had the Declaration of Independence been written today, it would have rendered as signers terrorists, resulting in them being placed on a government watch list, targeted for surveillance of their activities and correspondence, and potentially arrested, held indefinitely, stripped of their rights, and labeled enemy combatants. The danger is real. We could certainly use some of that revolutionary outrage today. Certainly we would do well to reclaim the revolutionary spirit of our ancestors and remember what drove them to such drastic measures in the first place. Then again, perhaps what we need is a new Declaration of Independence. When you read the Declaration of Independence for yourself and ask yourself if abuse is suffered by early Americans at the hands of the British people, British police state, don't bear startling resemblance to the abuses we the people are suffering at the hands of the American police state. If you find the purpose posed by the founders hard to desperate, here's my translation of what Declaration of Independence would look like and sounds like if it were written in modern vernacular. There comes a time the populace must stand and unite and say enough's enough. The government's abuses, even if it means getting rid of political parties and power. Like I said before, George Washington warned us about this in his farewell address. Believing that we, the people, have a natural and divine right to direct our own lives. Here's the truth about the power of the people and how we arrive at the decision to sever our ties to the government. All men and women are created equal. All people possess certain innate rights, and no government agency or individual can take away from them. Among these are the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The government's job is to protect the people's innate rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government's power comes from the will of the people. Whenever any government abuses power, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish that government and replace it with a new government that will respect and protect the rights of the people. It is not wise to get rid of a government for minor transgressions. In fact, as history has shown, people resist change and are inclined to suffer all manners of abuses to which they have become accustomed. However, when people have been subjected to repeated abuses and power grabs carried out with the purpose of establishing a tyrannical government, people should have the right and duty to do away with that tyrannical government and replace it with a new government that will protect and serve their innate rights for their future well-being. It is exactly the state of affairs we are suffering under right now, which is why it's necessary that we change this imperial system of government. The history of the present imperial government is a history of repeated abuses and power grabs carried out with the intention of establishing absolute tyranny over the country. To prove this, consider the following. The government has, through its own negligence and arrogance, refused to adopt urgent necessary laws for the good of the people. The government has threatened to hold up critical laws unless the people agree to relinquish their right to be fully represented in the legislature. In order to expand its power and bring about compliance with this dictates, the government has made it nearly impossible for the people to make their views and needs be heard by their representatives. The government has repeatedly suppressed protests arising in response to its actions. The government has obstructed justice by refusing to appoint new judges and has demanded that the court comply with the government's dictates. The government has allowed its agents to harass the people and steal for them. The government has directed militarized agents, aka standing army, to police domestic affairs in peacetime. The government has turned the country into a militarized police state. The government has conspired to undermine the rule of law and the constitutional order to expand its own powers. The government has allowed its militarized police to invade our homes. The government has failed to hold its agents accountable for wrongdoing and murder. The government has jeopardized our international trade agreements. The government has taxed us without our permission. The government has denied us due process and the right to a fair trial. The government has engaged in extraordinary rendition. The government has continued to expand its military empire and occupy foreign nations. The government has eroded fundamental legal protection and destabilized the structure of the government. The government has declared its federal power superior to those of the states. The government has seized and protected the people and instead waged war against the people. The government has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of the people. The government has employed private contractors and mercenaries to carry out acts of death, desolation, and tyranny totally unworthy of a civilized nation. The government has pitted its citizens against each other. The government has stirred up civil unrest and laid the groundwork for martial law. Repeatedly, we have asked the government to cease its abuse. Each time the government has responded with more abuse. An imperial ruler who acts like a tyrant is not fit to govern a free people. We repeatedly sound the alarm to our fellow citizens about the government's abuses. We have warned them about the government's power grab. We have appealed to their sense of justice. We have reminded them of our common bonds. They have rejected our plea for justice and brotherhood. They are equally at fault for the injustices being carried out by the government. Thus, for the reasons mentioned above, we, the people of the United States of America, declare ourselves free from the chains of an abusive government. Relying on God's protection, we pledge to stand by the Declaration of Independence with our lives, our fortunes, and our honor. That was 242 years ago. In the years since early Americans first declared and eventually won their independence from Great Britain, we, the decadents of those revolutionary patriots, have somehow managed to work ourselves right back under the tyrant's thumb. Only this time, the tyrant is one of our own making, the U.S. government. The abuse meted out by an imperial government and endured by the American people have not ended. They have merely evolved. We, the people, are still being robbed blind by our government thieves. We are still being taken advantage by a government of scoundrels, idiots, and cowards. We are still being locked up by the government of greedy jailers. We are still being spied on by American government of peeping times. We are still being ravaged by government ruffians, rapists, and killers. One moment. We are still being forced to surrender our freedoms and those of our children to a government extortioners, money launderers, and professional pirates. We're being held at gunpoint by a government of soldiers and a standing army. Given the fact we are relatively a young nation, it hasn't taken very long for an authoritarian regime to creep into power. Unfortunately, the bipartisan coup that laid siege to our nation did not happen overnight. It snuck in under our radar, hiding by the guise of national security, the war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on immigration, political correctness, hate crime, and a host of other official standing programs aimed at expanding the government's power at the expense of individual freedoms. The building blocks from the bleak future we're just now getting a foretaste of police shootings of unarmed citizens, profit-driven prisons, weapons of compliance, a wall-to-wall surveillance state, pre-crime programs, a suspect society, school-to-prison pipelines, militarized police, over-criminalization, SWAT team raids, endless wars, etc. We're put into place by government officials we trusted to look out for our best interests, and by American citizens who failed to heed James Madison's warning to take alarm at the first experiment on our liberties. In doing so, we compromise our principles, negotiate away our rights, and allow the rule of law to be rendered irrelevant. There is nothing how long it will take to undo the damage wrought by government corruption, corporate greed, militarization, a nation of apathetic, gullible sheep. The problem we are facing will not be fixed overnight. This is the grim reality with which we must contend. Frankly, I make this clear in my book, Battlefield America, The War of the American People. We may see no relief from the police state in my lifetime or for several generations to come. This does not mean we should give up, give in, or tune out. Remember, there is always a price to pay for remaining silent in the face of injustice. That price is tyranny. Mr. Whitehead's absolutely right. He is executive director for the Rutherford Institute, real good organization, and people should check that out. And at this time, I do read his work a lot because I always give people admiration on what they stand for. And they got a gentleman like that. He did serve in the military as well, so he's no dummy. He knows what the hell he's talking about. Folks, I encourage people to read his book as well, and any other things pertaining to tyranny, corruption, police state, Brave New World, New World Order, etc. This was been happening right in front of our eyes, and people still complain about all the little things in their lives. Materialism, who's screwing who the hell cares? Or whose favorite team won? Big deal. That make you a man or woman? Not to me, that's pathetic. Yes, don't get me wrong, sports is entertainment, but not my church. You have obligations to every single one of you here. And they say you're with us or against us, they're your enemies as well, including some of the folks that spoke out for March for Our Lives. They're being programmed, pawns of treason. That's just an example. There's a whole lot that's going on. And it's right in front of our faces. If you hadn't figured it out, you just say, I want to put my head in the sand or the ground like an ostrich. Stay vigilant. And address this to everyone too before Independence Day. Show what true independence is about. Everyone out there should be talking about freedom, spiritual prosperity, and defy all forms of tyranny, including condemning the New World Order that includes the United Nations. And say no to a police state. If they ask you for your ID for no apparent reason, you say, I refuse. What is the nature of this investigation? Remember, the governmental delegates are not your bosses, they're not your slave masters. Every individual doesn't know what you look like. Race, color, creed, etc. are individually free. We have that gift. Exercise it. In a period of time, the more you know, the more you implement, the less you fear. And that is it. I'd thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you send me something email to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. And many of you have, and I appreciate it. Some of you be critical too. You know what? It's cool. It's honorable. You hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube.
Okay. Oh, I thought that got wet.
There was no bag here, Craig, was there?
No. FreedomsNetwork, Lines.com, Patreon.com/3. 3 eyes. Hit me at Gab, yours, One Way, and Buddy's List. In addition, you can email me at lookinluck3@gmail.com or to encrypted one, especially with the Proton Mail account, lookinluck03@protonmail.com. And I encourage people to use Proton Mail. You know, we can have a little cool little community. It'll be more encrypted. So that would be nice. Yeah, that's how one of my colleagues who looked for his bag. He found it. They have a little party here. Woo! Welcome, Forthright. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. As always, remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate your body. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.